All right. I didn't have the headset on, but I checked it and it doesn't sound horrible, so I'm going to leave it as is. Sorry about that. I was saying earlier, well, I trashed a video because I was going like this, but and it skipped, and so I just dumped it. 2:11, so we're about 40 pages from the end. So I have to figure something out after that. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to guess how many more days it'll be, but we'll see. We'll get it done, then we'll do something else. Maybe, and maybe not. I don't know. It depends on if anybody says anything. If they want me to keep reading or not, I'll just let it slide and stop doing it. No, I might pick some things out, some sections out of The Last Centurion. Definitely, because that has a lot on ants and grasshoppers, something we all need to learn about. How to treat ants and how to treat grasshoppers. So, alrighty, Valentines Part 2. Tears ran down Neil's face as he tightly gripped his mother, but he didn't bawl, which impressed John. Cindy tried to sniff her tears back as she wrapped her arms around her mother as well. Carla clutched them to herself as if afraid they would be snatched away. No one spoke for a time, then finally their mother said, "Now you two mind what Uncle John and Aunt Ann tell you. I want you both to keep up on your schoolwork. Aunt Ann runs a tight ship on education. I'll write you every week, but mail may be spotty, so don't freak out if you don't get one every week. I'll come back for you as soon as I can. I love you both very much." "I love you too, Mommy," Neil snuffled, burying his face in her coat. "Me too, Mama. We'll miss you. Come back to us as soon as you can," Cindy said, tears rolling down her cheeks. She gave them a last squeeze and then gently detached them from her person. "You two stay here like Uncle John asked." She buttoned up her coat, then she and John walked outside. As they crossed the snow-covered concrete, John asked Carla, "Is there anything you need to tell me that you didn't want to say in front of the kids?" She took a tissue out of her pocket and wiped her eyes and blew her nose. "Thank you for sparing me a scene in there, big brother. I wasn't sure how much longer I was going to be able to keep myself together." He smiled, then said, "Well, I figured it would be easier on everyone like this." Putting the tissue back in her pocket, "I don't know where I'll end up after I get back, but I'm pretty sure I won't be in San Diego long. Likely I'll go back on board ship or to an overseas posting. No deceptions between us, John. We're in for a fight. We slapped China down hard and she won't cross us so openly again, I think, but every 10-cent tyrant in the world is going to try us from time to time just to see if we still can. I don't think we'll see a lot of peace for America for the rest of my career. Taiwan will probably settle, but China is going to make a hard push for the Spratlys because she needs that oil. The Middle East is getting worse with every passing month, if that's possible. Al-Saladin is proving to be a force to be reckoned with. There's some in Mecca openly proclaiming him the savior, no matter how many heads the Saudis lop off. Prince Sultan thinks he's doing the manipulating, but naval intelligence thinks Saladin will topple the House of Saud sometime in the relatively near future. All I know is that he's put the wind up naval ops pretty bad. Bahrain, Oman, and Qatar are showing signs of getting squishy on us, so our holdings in Iraq may not be secure." John frowned. "I've been halfway expecting it to bust loose over there for years. If not this Saladin fella, it would be someone else." On familiar turf, her tears were drying up and she continued with her debriefing. "It wouldn't be so bad for the U.S. if we did lose the Middle East, but Fox in Mexico is beginning to think he's got us by the short and curlies and is going to get very pushy about Azatlan. We can't come out and say it, but the president is very soft on that issue. If things get really tight, some of us think he may roll over on the border states." John snorted. "Well, California may do any damn fool thing, but I can't see the other border states tolerating that. They've already taken back their National Guard troops. They'll fight if they have to." "That's what we figure as well, but no one can see how it'll come out," she continued. "If we lose the Middle East and Mexico refuses to sell us oil, we're going to be in an energy hurt because Venezuela may decide to back Mexico's play. We're not well loved in the Latin world." He rubbed his chin for a moment, considering. "Well, you know, It'll hurt like hell for a while, I'm sure, as the economy re-evolves. But in the long run, I think it may be good for us. It's a fool thing to do, becoming vitally dependent on a foreign resource we don't or can't control. The university has 3 buses running on wood burners now and working on improvements to build more. We're building our own methane digester. They just had a story in the news yesterday about building nuclear plants over to Cape Canaveral to power launching lasers for the space program. Apparently the lasers are coming from developments out of the missile defense program. I reckon they'll probably build nukes all over. Maybe that we're finally going to have to learn to stand on our own national feet again when it comes to energy. She nodded her head. You're right, but it's going to be a tough ride for a while. War's coming and energy and materials are going to be tight for a long time to come. We won't be seeing things like we saw them before the impact, perhaps ever again in our lifetimes. The young crewman came out of the door of the building and another one leaned out the open plane hatch and waved at them. Carla wrapped herself around her older brother's chest and squeezed him surprisingly hard. Tears began to leak out of her eyes again. Take care of my babies for me, John. Tell them that I love them every day. See that they grow up tall and strong. They're going to have to make their way in a hard world one day. She let go suddenly, turned, and began to walk toward the plane. She climbed the ladder and disappeared inside without looking back. The engine sound began to build as the turbines whirled and blew loose snow around them. Gradually the plane began to turn and taxied toward the runway. At the end it paused momentarily, and then with a rising whine it started moving forward faster and faster until it at last the front wheels. Then the rear left the ground and it rose into the infinite sky, where it soon disappeared into the low, leaden cloud cover. After a time he turned and walked back toward the building. Inside he saw Cindy holding a tissue for Neil to blow his nose. He forced a smile as he entered the door and walked across the room, then said, Are you kids hungry? Heather packed a lunch for you and it's waiting in the truck. It's a fair piece back to the house, so if you want to sleep after you eat, that's okay. He stooped and scooped up their duffel bags as they headed toward the door. Will we be riding in a wagon to get home, Uncle John? Neil asked as they moved toward the parking lot. A wagon? John laughed. Good Lord, no. At least not yet anyways. Might come to that before the end, but not yet. That's the truck right there, and it's got a good heater. I've had enough of my feet being cold for today. He loaded their bags into the back of the cab, then checked on the gas cans in the truck bed. It was 7 hours from Gainesville to Pensacola, and you still couldn't always count on finding gasoline on the way. So he'd brought enough to make it here and back without buying any. He'd also been sure to bring a rifle in addition to his pistol, both of which he'd pick up from the SPs at the gate. That much gasoline was worthy of a roadside holdup if someone knew you had it. He loaded the kids into the truck and got out the cooler of food Heather had packed and handed out the sandwiches, cookies, and milk it contained, which they received gladly. He unbuttoned his coat, got in, and started the motor. Pulling out of the lot with the new members of his family, he started the long drive home. All right. Good night. This is Jerry Diamond. If you're listening to this, you are the remnant.